Thank you for that intro. I wrote it myself, so it was on point. So, hello guys, and all those watching out there. If you guys want to go on LinkedIn, my profile, or Facebook, we have a Sterile MD. No, sorry, is that we have the Process Podcast group on Facebook. You could watch this live. You can watch yourself. See if you're in the photo, if you're in the camera, to move back or come forward so we can see your face. So all right, today guys, also one more thing I wanted to mention. I'm a St. Lucian, so hey, shout out to Julian Alfred, 100-meter gold medalist at the Olympics. So proud. I just had to mention that. All right, represent my people. All right. So guys, I will open it up to you guys if you have any questions for the panel. We had some great topics today, and I would like you guys to get some of that stuff off your chest. If you have any questions you're mulling over through lunch, when you eat, you tend to get a little more memory. So any questions from you guys? And I definitely have some questions for them because Jhmeid's been getting on me about debating me. So we're definitely going to go a little back and forth here. So any questions from you guys about the presentation so far?
This will have any suggestions or ways that we can. Do you? It's online. Oh, hello, online. Do you have any suggestions or ways that, as this profession, we can be given the recognition we need to have? You understand my question? Like, we are behind a closed door all the time. And we're always talking about self-promotion, this and that. But you guys are out at a different level than myself. How do we promote ourselves better?
This is Rebecca with HealthMark. One thing that you can do is establish a tech ladder in your unit. And it is important that you communicate to the surgical leadership that I have all of these certifications that I can get within this realm, but you have to explain what each level means. So something I did at my last facility before I started working with HealthMark was with the help of Jhmeid, actually, we rolled out a tech ladder where Tech 1 was somebody that started without certification. Tech 2 gets their basic certification. Tech 3, CER, CIS. Lead tech has all of, I can't remember, but basically you work your way up. So, and then the managers and the coordinators have everything. So creating that, you can ask your facility to look into other ladders within the organization. Sometimes they model it after a lab for some reason. Like the labs usually have good tech ladders in place, which is kind of obscure, but you can ask your HR to give you more information on other clinical ladders within the organization, and then you can start from there. But that was one thing that some leadership was like, oh, wow, like you have a lot to do. You have a lot of responsibility. It's not dishwashing. There's still that mentality that what we do is so easy, but everything has changed in a very short amount of time. So.
All right, I'll take a crack at this one. So, how to promote ourselves as a profession? Invite yourself to the party.
That's true. Very true.
Invite yourself to the party. Be visible, and let's act professionally. Most of us, myself included, when I first started this job, we took it as just a job, but this is actually a career with different pathways. So we can act like this is actually a profession accordingly. Share our success stories with our hospital leadership, invite ourselves to the party, daily safety huddles. Most of the time, store processing doesn't report on there, but guess what? It's an essential department that needs to be reported. Okay, I have this many equipments down with a potential impact to this many cases. Be visible in there during CS week. organize something like a SPD fest, so other people in the department can come to the department and get a first-hand look on what actually happens. And borrowing the word from Miss Rebecca, not just glorify dishwashers, but there's a lot more involved in this profession than most people know about. So promote yourself within the hospital, your system, invite your leaders to come tour, especially your CFOs and your CEOs, those with the power to make those decisions. So that's how we can promote ourselves.
So, and both of these guys said great things, so I'm just going to add on. What are you doing for CST week? What are you doing for CNOR week? So then when you do that, it sparks the collaboration, and then they start recognizing you as, because there's a bunch of departments that are not doing anything for those key decision makers. The other thing is, on that wall outside your department, you can put whatever you want to up there. So if you want to tell your story with data, tell it with data. If you want to talk about how many trays you have to do every day, talk about those numbers. You guys are younger, but you know how Cliff Clavin used to have all those facts on Cheers, right? You got to be the Cliff Clavin of your hospital. Like, did you know we did blah, blah, blah? And then they're like, wait a minute, this is because that's when when you have new technology. Like when I started, you didn't have robots. We didn't have to have all these different IFUs for this stuff. And so that's how you tell your story on that wall outside your department. Don't miss anything. Oh, you don't have to go to this meeting. No, I'm coming. Oh, this is just for so-and-so. No, I'm coming to go to everything. And then you start having that ability to, they start saying, first it's going to start off, they say, hey, that Randalyn is good. But then as Randalyn advocates for people, then that group will start understanding what that's.
I'll just add to that a little bit, if it's okay. I would say, so I actually have a session at HSPA. I don't know if you're going to be in Louisville this year, but okay. Well, you reach out to me and I'll do the session with you. It's developing from within, building a SPD career ladder that works. And so I talk about examples and things I've done with organizations to take them from a position. I go in a department, you have 4 positions. I took them to 26. Took a year and a half, but we did it. The apprenticeship program that I did in South Carolina, when we do apprenticeship, I did not hire and we did not bring in anyone from the street. It was internal from the organization only. So we educated the whole organization. We opened it up to the organization. The first year, we only took 4 candidates. I had 160 applicants. It's 160 people in that hospital in other areas that wanted to come and work in SPD. Involved with your chapter events. I know there's a lot of chapters out there that have legislative things happening where they're working at a higher level to get certification passed in their state and things like that to promote sterile processing from a larger scale and to make it known what we do, or also look in your area for job fairs. I always try to attend a local job fair and set up the SPD table, talk about what you're doing and express our industry with importance.
Another thing that you can do, I'm a firm believer that education is your bridge to collaboration, right? So if you have OR staff that are new to that organization, whether they're techs or nurses, talk to the OR educator or manager about having them do orientation in SPD and maybe suggest that they do annual competencies in SPD. So, you know, if you can get a couple hours, great. But if you can get like a full shift or a half a shift or whatever you can get, you're going to connect the dots and bridge the gap. And the same goes for SPD getting up to the OR and understanding that. But when you get the OR techs and the nurses down there and like have them reprocess Da Vinci instruments, have them reprocess a laparoscopic set where they have to test everything, something that requires a ton of testing and a ton of inspection on prep and pack, then that's going to change their perspective. I think, because they realize like how many steps it actually takes. So,
and then a mutual respect.
Mutual respect, as Randalyn says.
Does that answer your question? No, that was a good question.
they go back up, they get redirected all over. That's a huge issue.
So a good point is sometimes when people come down, we waste that opportunity, right? So somebody said, I was at something, they said, yeah, we throw them back in decon to show them. And it's like, no, let them follow the whole tray. So let them, so if they're down there, to your point, just for a couple of hours, we're going to decon this tray, then you're going to change, you're going to go on the other side, and then you're going to get maybe not this tray, but the same similar tray. We're going to go assemble it. Then we're going to get it ready for the sterilizer. Then we're going to see the whole process. And so don't waste that moment when they come down. Now, we can't help what they do, but what Randalyn and Rebecca are saying is don't let that be the only interaction, right? So if they will veer away because they only saw you that one time. They had to go down there because we don't go to huddle. We don't make rounds in the OR. We're scared to go up there. But if they came down and you went to huddle every day, and every day you said, we're good downstairs, all the sterilizer up. We have the thoracic trays for turnover, and I think we have two. Anybody have anything I missed? And then now they're like, wow, they're the master of their domains. And then they go, oh, I know him from when I went down there. And then you're going up and doing rounds. So a lot of times we don't want to go up there. So the person came down, we made them stand decon the whole time to show them how hard it was. Then they never see us. It's not that they check. They saw you in the parking lot like 3 months ago, but we don't take that opportunity to, because those can be your advocates. So that's a good.
Yeah, and I think it depends on how you train. Because like I had 2 people from the OR, and I'm kind of new to the hospital, not to the field. But I've been trained old school. So like when I had the 2 ladies that I had, and bless their hearts, both of them were fantastic. But I trained them old school, even though I knew they weren't like coming down to actually physically work in our department. But I trained them old school or showed them old school. And the one lady actually worked upstairs, and she was just like, wow. She was like, I didn't know that. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, like, this is how it should be done. And she's like, wow. She's like, I never knew that upstairs. She didn't know that you went through that whole process by just handling the instruments upstairs in OR. But
we've talked about giving our department the proper attaboy that they deserve and how to get them out there. My question pertains to collaboration with the OR and what we can do to drive that collaboration and to be positive change agents to some of the processes that impact CSP as well as the operating room. What advice would you give to move that needle?
Who we're starting with?
I'll take this one first. Collaboration is extremely important when it comes to CS and the OR. We are not adversaries. One department cannot work without the other department. And we all fall under the same perioperative services. So with that being said, some of the tactics that we can be used to foster collaborations would be setting up a multidisciplinary team that includes both the OR and CS with various staff members and leadership in that team, and help tackle some of the performance improvement or quality initiatives that will both be beneficial to us. And we started with the collaboration. From my previous experience, I have an exchange program that a surgical tech will come in, a nurse will come in on a rotating basis and see our process, learn our process. Likewise, CS will also be sending somebody to the OR to witness case. And what we did, well, it was a fine-tuned process that we'll know ahead of time who is going and what case they are going to be witnessing. So we proactively pulled the instruments that the technician actually assembled specifically for that case that they're going to witness. So that actually drives home, hey, I put that instruments together, and this is the impact that it has on here. So that also fostered that collaboration in services back and forth. CS can go provide in services to the OR on our processes, why it's important for point of use treatment or what our process looks like. That's why when we say it's going to take 6 hours for you to get your instrumentation back, it's not because CS is being lazy or the other, but there's multiple steps involved in getting this process done. And likewise, they'll also come downstairs and witness that process together. High-level leadership meeting between CS and the OR. Leaders talk among yourself, proactively manage any conflicts that might come out before it becomes a bigger issue. So those are some of the steps and tactics that could be used.
So, and I think we'll probably all have something to say on this one. Bake it in, right? And by baking it in, do you go to huddle every day? Do you go to the OR huddles every day? Because sometimes they don't do the best job of telling us they're flipping room 3. And we're like, yeah, we're good on turnovers. And then they're like, hey, can you get this? And you're like, I thought that we had that as a turnover for 1 p.m. Oh, no, we're flipping room 3. Go to their huddles every day. Bake it in. Also, do an instrument review, right? And if they say they don't have time, I think there's an old saying, the town crier. So what I would do is just go to the board and start saying, all right, for tomorrow, I'm posting this on the board. These are the stuff that I have for turnover tomorrow. Here's my accountability report for the vendor trays for tomorrow. Like, these are here, these are not here, these are here. Like, we like to say it's here, but we don't like to admit it's not sterile. So these are here. Now then people start saying, that dummy is doing it every day. And then it's, oh, they're talking about ortho instruments. I'm going up there. And then next thing you know, you have a daily instrument review, a quick one. We're not going through, but now we're getting that communication. And take advantage of the number one advantage we have over our OR family. We can cook better. So when it's OR Nurse Week, go cook them a potluck. When it's Surge Tech Week, we're gonna cook them a potluck. Anesthesia Tech Week, we're gonna cook them a potluck. And then now, instead of those people downstairs, they're like, hey man, ask Randalyn, is she gonna do the tiramisu this year? Is she doing the tiramisu? Is she not? Yeah. Is Vanessa doing the focaccia bread? Because then now you start because people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. You're proving that you care, and you're saying, I'm gonna force my way in here, right? Like any in-service, once the OR's education day, you know that day that your team is like, that's the day we can go to breakfast a long time. No, go up there for their OR, because they're going like, what are you guys doing up here? Oh, I mean, we're in surgical services. We want to know about what's going on. And they're like, what the heck is going on with those people down there? Those people, wow, they really care, right? So now you're starting to integrate yourself into their training plan. And now you can say, your educator, check with the OR educator to see, is there going to be any educating? And then what we would do when they say, oh, it's nothing that has to do with you guys. Then I have my educator give her updates. All right, we had 3 more people certified last month, and we had this and we had that. So force your way in that door. If Sarah Cruz was here, she would tell you to force your way in the door. And it seems like obtrusive, but I promise you, if you want to collaborate, you had one of your best friends in your life that you hated when you first met him. One of your best friends was like, they target you and they said, I'm gonna make that person tell your best friend. Do that same thing with the OR. You say, I'm gonna force you to love me. And I promise you it will work. It takes a little patience, but it doesn't take as long because once they realize you're not going anywhere, you're on the team.
We're gonna limit responses to 2 minutes.
I won't give all my examples then. I'll just say I just did a session again on this. Are you familiar with Beyond Clean? They did a conference called Done to Dirty. We were both on. My top, I would highly recommend look it up. The topic I did is SPD and OR collaboration, the 3 C's. It's 1 hour. I give tons of examples on things that I've done. I won't go into this for time's sake, but I recommend watching it. I do something called the buddy system. And another example I just want to say that is really strong in my mind is my experience with Mercy Ships, because they're all one. It's one department. They all fall under perioperative services. We are called OR professionals, and then sterile processing was mine. Everyone from EVS, they don't call them EVS. You're an OR professional, cleaning, OR professional, transport, translator, whatever your position was, dietary, we were all one. So every meeting we were all there. I have never seen such a well-oiled machine in communication and collaboration than I see there. And imagine the language barriers that we have. It's from people from all over the world. Do you think I'm trained the same way as Nurse Rebecca next to me who happened to be from another country? No, but it works. It works because we're all one. So we were all speaking the same language when we were all there for the same goal, which is the same here, but we're not using that same approach. So, yeah.
I would say in services, again, if you have OR service leads or service lead techs, however it is up there, have them come down once a week, like on your in-service day in SPD, and maybe explain how they do a lab chole, how are the instruments used for. I had an OR service lead show us how the book Walter was set up and seeing how the clamps were attached to the table. Like we just used a case cart, for example, but just seeing that and being able to freely ask questions, it fostered a relationship where people weren't afraid to be like, hey, Chris, or, whoever, hey, is this okay? Do you think this is broken? Like just asking these people questions. And so my advice would be, don't be afraid. If you've got a question, or just start saying hi to people, get to know them, because you have to, when you guys function as one, I've worked in a hospital where you function as one, and I've worked in hospitals where you're complete adversaries, and it is day and night. So you need to be on the same team. Oh,
Thank you guys. Great answer. That was Jhmeid. I was kidding about that.
oh, questions online?
Okay, sorry, because I'm also the camera person. Hi everyone. So I also have to say, to the point that each of them are making, especially with us, Jhmeid saying like, put your foot in the door. Know their systems. Know how they work. Ask questions, as Rebecca said. Ask about the cases. Oh, this case, what kind of trays? Understand your workload, understand your inventory, the things that you can utilize so that you can get your foot in the door, have conversations if you're in that leadership role where you can sit with the nurse manager, sit with the leads, talk to them, and see, hey, because eventually down the road, when they see you know what you're talking about, and then you know your inventory, you know what's on the schedule, that you're then able to say, hey, we're not able to accommodate this right now, but we can accommodate it, and maybe for the third case, or we can move this case. We could still do the case. We just need to move things around a little bit. But we won't know those things if we don't put our foot in the door and we don't go and ask questions, get to know everyone. They're not scary people. They're just like us, just have their own roles. So go ahead and ask questions. Be curious.
Yeah. It's just like one of those TV shows. Like they're scared. Don't let those two people come downstairs acting a donkey, confused. The most of them are like, I don't know that person. I see that Deannard. He looks so cool, and he's on social media all the time. I don't want to go down there and ask him stuff. Break that ice. Break that ice. And Rebecca said something funny and cool. A lot of times we go, why do they keep scheduling? Why did they schedule 8 cases and we only have 6 trays? Do you think the OR knows what your inventory is? Like, do you think the OR is up there like, yeah, we're going to stress them out. No, the surgeon said, can we do 8 cases? And we haven't done a good job of how would they know? How would they know what our inventory is on these critical cases? Did we deliver them? Do we have a sheet at their desk? Did we print out a inventory count? And is our inventory right? Right? Because the real reason we're stressed out is because we don't have 6 trays, because 3 of them have been scanned since 2018.
And one
Right?
is down and one is missing.
One is on the missing card and the other one is so part of that is once you start partnering, then you start realizing, oh, they don't know. They didn't do this on purpose. They don't know. Like I'm telling you, when the OR, not every time, but 90% of the time when they say, how long is it taking to turn over this instrument? They really mean, how long is it taking? Because they don't know the steps.
Yeah.
So that's where you being at these meetings and being an advocate for your team, all these things come together when you start saying, then they say, oh yeah, it's not them that's taking long. They have to put it in the washer. And it's going to be in there from 23 to 45 minutes, depending on which one you have, right? And then it's going to be in the sterilizer, right? So we don't have any control. We can't make the sterilizer go faster. We can't make the washer go faster. So, but when you start having those meetings, those informal interactions, that's when you can start having those conversations where you can educate them, not just that in-service. In-services are great, but then they're going like, you know what? We need some more these trays because they're kicking our butt every time.
Yeah.
Well, at times we're a victim of our own success because if we keep turning around 4 trays for 8 cases every day.
Yeah, that's a good point. We make it happen. We do these cartwheels to make it happen, and we never say
We should be tracking.
we should be reporting that.
Have a KPI on all your turnovers
Yeah.
for the year, and then build your budget at the end of the year based on those KPIs.
So, as most of you already are aware by now, I love technology. And with that, for the caseload versus the inventory, technology can play a role in here. So if your instrument tracking system is integrated with our OR scheduler, there can be hard stop or mild stops built in. So when trying to schedule more cases than the inventory allows, an alert will go out to let the team know that, okay, this is what is happening. And the team will also have a creative way to put some small cases in between those cases to enable the team to turn over the items instead of moving directly to IUSS or one tray system. So.
So, what are the chances that some of you guys or somebody that's like, I want to say like higher up than us in SPDs actually to the facilities and talk to the people that are not reachable to us? So for my 16 years doing the profession, God knows, I know, everybody who knows me knows that I blared off their ears off of their heads already. I didn't put just the foot in, I was the whole in. So, yeah, and barking like a dog all the time, but don't get the opportunity to do anything much. You don't have much support from the SPD techs that are in the department. And the managers are not like hitting where they really have to hit, or maybe they don't know or they don't want to, or you get to be shut down all the time. Like for whatever we wanted to do, it's always they know it better, and it's going to just go whatever they say, so we can't do much about it. So like that's one thing, that like somebody somewhere maybe go and do what you do here with us for them to hear this. So that's when I know that everybody should come, and managers should be here, but obviously they're not. And I've been doing this with the group for like 14 years now, and I can count on my hand how many managers actually have ever come to the conference. So that's one thing. Second thing is like the cost. Everything costs the money, and the people in SPD, we're not making much. So the problem with the education that I always see one and the same people like all over the place.
traveling around, going to the country, you know, different countries, different states, because you guys can afford it. We can't. So to give the push for that is education for us as well is important. So I think that I want to move away from SPD and the OR conflicts constantly that we're talking about. Like I feel like we hit the ceiling here. So what's the next steps? I was feeling very comfortable when we passed the legislation here for PA, because I was the part of the group that we paid our Joe Colaci, we paid her with the Pittsburgh chapter to fight for us. And it was years, it took us years for Pennsylvania to pass. What happened, guys? What happened after that? Where is the compensation for us? We never got compensated for any of this. Like for right now, we don't even pay for to do the certification, or you only paid for one and not more. And it's like, okay, so I feel like this is what's missing. This is like the last but not least. We need to get into the community colleges and be educated the proper way, so that we are put on the same level as surgical techs, because surg techs do 0.5% of the job. They know how to use the instrument that I'm washing, preparing, and giving to you. So to me, that's like one, it's 50-50 job, but like they get paid so much more because they went through the programs and they went through the school. Who is going to fight for us in these community colleges to get us in there, to have a program that we are ready to do? Yes, there are online courses. Sure, it's easy for me today, sit at home and just go to the HealthMark webinar or Steris University, whatever, and get my CUs. But that's not the point. I love this. You communicate, you build relationships, like you collect all this, like, and not everybody can and wants to do it.
So my brain is like, okay.
Okay, so the one of the first things is the community, the SPD community, and I just joined HealthMark in October, so I've been in the field up until then. For the last facility I worked at was the only facility that compensated me to go to Amy. I had to pay my way to HSPA and everything. And this is probably not the right answer, but the way I did it was I used my PTO. I worked extra hours. I picked up some other work because I wanted to get involved and I wanted to learn. And that's unfortunately, that's what I had to do. I think that's what most folks are still having to do. The other thing is, as far as the compensation piece goes, I can't fully speak on the rest of what, HSPA, but from my knowledge is that it depends on what state you're in. The cost of living, I believe, like that's up to your facility and your facility's interpretation of the law. But when I say the SPD community needs to step up, we can all be adjunct professors at a community college. It's about us putting our time out there to make this happen. Not a lot of folks have that time or mental or physical strength right now because life is life, and for everybody right now, a bunch of us have, kids, other jobs, life stress, financial stress. So how am I going to teach a class twice a week? But the community we need to start coming together and making that happen. More and more colleges are offering community SPD classes though. It's starting to pick up a little bit, but you're right,
I would say the same. So I've been working in my career. So I've only been 3 years, but prior is hospital level and a lot of work in hospital and traveling, but same. So never in my career ever did anyone pay for me to go to HSPA or any entity. That was all on my own. So I feel your pain. But now I'm on this side. So advocating for sure. The apprenticeship program, the 2 rounds that I did with that, I partnered with 2 local colleges, and I fought, and it was at the organization level. Like I was meeting with the VP at that hospital and HR for 6 months to fight for them to pay for us to put the students through school, to pay for them to go to that community college. I said, I'm not implementing and not directing and not helping with this unless that's part of it. And it took a lot to get us there, budget, but we did it. And we sent them back to school and they got to take classes. And then on the side, I'm working with 3 community colleges right now. The instructor that they have at one teaches the sterile process, the surgical tech program. They don't have SPD. They're trying to create it. They're asking for my input. There's another one that has an adjunct position open. I'm looking at that, but I'm also reaching out to the chapters in my community and the industry in my community to say, hey, go for this. Go try this. A lot of it's part-time. A lot of times they don't have anyone to create the curriculum. They don't have the experience. They don't have anyone to do the observation hours or the clinical hours to be that mentor or preceptor. So I hear what you're saying, and part of it I think is just doing it. But then unfortunately, some of it is your facility level, like the organization actually investing in SPD.
Yeah. And the HSPA is a chapter or CPSPD is a chapter. I feel like they should also form a team that's gonna go and attack all of these facilities and go around and fight for it too, and go to the schools and do all that, because certainly the techs probably can't afford that. They're not gonna do it. And now I individually can do it. Since you're on the board, individually you can get all the certifications and be there, and maybe everything that you guys just talked about, we've touched already in this facility. I know we did, because I've been with them for 12 years. We did the education, we did the communication, we made the tiramisu stew and did all of that and went for breakfast and all that, but not really getting us anywhere.
So I think, hey guys, so not to be redundant, but I think Rebecca answered that question more correctly. At a facility level, that's how you basically have to address your pay. HSPA will provide as much resources as possible so that the facilities will know exactly what we do, how we do it, etc. But we can't technically advise on pay. Speaking from HSPA standpoint.
So I will try and answer both of your 5 questions you asked. So with the managers, it's rather unfortunate that we do not have some managers or most of the managers attending education conferences like this. Believe it or not, managers have power department level than some of them realize if they are willing to have that difficult conversation with their one up. How do I know this? Done it before. But of all of my previous facilities, I was providing education time for conferences. Local conferences, it was even part of their annual evaluations to go to conferences. So if it's part of your evaluations, guess what? I have to fill the cost and pay you to go to that. So that can be done. On the national and international level, we have sent people to conferences also. Still everything paid for. Heck, sometimes I went out of my own pocket and do that. So the managers, like I said, have this capability of doing that. One thing that I have witnessed of, we take the best technicians and put them in management or leadership role without the appropriate training and resources to go with those new positions. Being a technician and a manager is 2 totally different skill sets that requires different trainings and different resources. So we cannot just put our best technician into a leadership or a managerial role without providing them with that resources and that training to be successful in their new role. We are setting them up for failure. I wish Jhmeid was here, who probably would have answered this. So what some of us are actually starting to do is have leadership workshop dedicated specifically for CS leaders, those incoming or those that have been in the role for a little bit, but were not provided with those additional resources. The way you talk to your CFO is be different from the way you talk to your COO. They look at two different matrices. They have two different priorities, so we cannot put the same data to them. And once we start having those conversations, believe it or not, most of what data raised will be solved. One of my facilities, we had career ladder already in place, and it comes with additional bonus for getting your certification. You get your certification, everything gets paid for, including your study materials. Then after your certification, automatically goes to the next level, stuff like that. One facility I tried, but I hit a roadblock because of how the labor laws worked over there. There's those union departments and non-union departments, and those comes with different laws. Some, especially with the union department, a position actually has to be open before somebody can be promoted into that. But with those non-union facilities, heck, you get your certification today and you meet the requirement for Tech 2 or Tech 3. Yeah. So that is that. So I believe it all goes back to education and making sure that we are putting the right people in the right roles and giving them the resources to make them successful in their roles.
This is going to be an unpopular opinion, and I might get beat up after this for it, but I find that oftentimes that CSP techs and leaders alike self-limit themselves. And my thing is oftentimes, and my staff will tell you, how many times have I said, go for the extra certifications? I don't even process endoscopes at my location, but I still wanted that CER. You know what I mean? I don't have to go to college to hold my position, but I am, because it's going to make me a better leader, hopefully, and I can better serve the patients and my staff. But until we hold ourselves accountable to be professionals, they're not going to look at us as professionals. We have to go above and beyond, do the extra work, and then they have no choice but to look at us as professionals. And I know that we aren't given a lot of money, and you have to justify every dollar you get, but there are other resources. I know that many healthcare systems, if not all of them in this general area, provide tuition reimbursement. Go out and get a degree. It doesn't necessarily have to be directly related to CSP, but education is not lost to any of us. So going out there and just getting a degree, you're going to be able to apply that to your leadership and your department. I mean, I always say this, but it's true. I'm going for business education, but one of the things that I had to take was an art history class. And it's funny, but it's not. But in that art history class at a community college, we had to study a painting of Dr. Liston in the surgical theater. And part of that was, I was like, who is this guy? And I went down a rabbit hole, and my girlfriend's probably attest to this. I will go down rabbit holes just researching random crap at like 3:00 in the morning. But, you know, I learned his history and how he also was connected to Dr. Lister, who then proceeded to get involved with aseptic technique and using things to go and prevent infections. It doesn't matter what the education is. Better yourself, invest in yourself, and then it forces others to invest in you. And that's all I got to say.
Thank you. Thank you. Who's next?
Okay. Just to mention, this does not have to be an entry level position. Randalyn has mentioned in other countries is not. It's not.
It's the structure. The structure we have in the U.S. I'm going to be careful with my answer here, but the structure we have in the US is similar to some countries, but behind the mark against most. You know, I learned a lot of this. Had the honor of going to WFHSS. I've been wanting to go forever. I was privileged enough to be able to attend this last time and hoping to go again this year, but I learned a lot watching and learning how other countries, I obviously work for a company that has headquarters in other countries. And so I'm learning their education, not entry level. It is years of education. And so we have as a country a difficult thing. And so I just don't want you to feel like it's just so solely to you. It's not. This is a universal, very large, and a lot of SPD professionals that feel your pain. And then it's also at the state level, because even when a state does get certification. And so, yeah, so it's difficult. I just, you know, and I think it's unfortunate, but I think we just have to continue what we're doing. I'm seeing change. There's massive amount of change and feel, I think, in the US and our industry in being heard. I just hope we can get our education level up and get it to an actual degree program. It needs to be a college degree program. Yeah.
Thank you guys. Great answers. We're winding down.
My question was basically pertaining to what everybody's talking about, education. So beyond our goal to get all of the certifications required for SPD, as far as like the degree role, what major would you suggest for someone once they complete all of the certifications and they obtain them for a certain amount of time, and say a person wants to go back to school, what major do you suggest one focus in to further their career in SPD?
I'm going to answer that. No, I'm not.
So my bachelor's is in wildlife biology. Okay. I was in veterinary medicine before this. I was working. My bachelor's of science is in wildlife biology. So I started as a veterinary technician doing working in the operating room and doing sterile processing in the veterinary field. I thought that going and getting this degree, maybe I'd go work as a researcher, work at a zoo. I ended up back at the same vet hospital without any more money, right? This is how I started sterile processing. I think that whenever you invest in education, you need to want what you're going for, because towards the end of my college experience, I was like, maybe this isn't the major that I want to do. I just wasted 60 grand and I should have done this other program instead. Because the price of education here is you need to want to do that. Now, a lot of people say, go and just get a business degree or a healthcare administration degree. And I'm not trying to shade you in that healthcare management. I think that's most common now in a lot of the folks that have been moving around. But, that's, I would say, honestly, like joining Amy and just like learning a lot of that advanced connections and being a part of that group of higher up individuals, you learn so much that it might help you direct yourself in what you want to try to go for next. Yeah, don't waste the money if you're not sure.
Don't go just to go. If you want to learn, go in something you want to learn, and you're going to learn and have enjoyment, and will contribute to you in general, in learning and being smarter. And you're going to take whatever you take out of that and apply it in what you do, because that's what we do as humans. You could go down the normal path. I'm exactly what she said. So associate's applied science and then bachelor's healthcare management. I'm actually just still enrolled. I'm not done yet. So I'm hoping to graduate with my bachelor's finally. But then on the side, like I'm working on getting certified infection prevention. So the APIC, I'm studying for that. There's other things on the side. Do I feel like what I'm getting in the college is directly related? No, but am I using certain things? Nelson gave a great example. I had actually a really bizarre economics class, but it was like really beneficial to also what I'm doing now and learning the business side of what we do. But I would just say pick something that you're passionate about and don't worry about how it will affect, because it will affect you, because you'll learn and you'll develop after that. But there's other things in the industry you could do outside of a college degree.
Twofold. One, the Amy thing that Rebecca mentioned, if you do want to get involved, I'm going to throw it out there, that advantage where Jhmeid, he had to catch a flight and I work. We have a group that we can join. It's free and you do it on your own time. We don't pay you, but if you want to be a fly on the wall, you can totally be a free fly on the wall. I also am on the Randalyn train of a boring degree, I guess you could call, but I'm pursuing my bachelor's in business admin because of what I experienced in my workplace. So I thought about like what I did with these lovely ladies here I used to work with, and I was like, what do I want to do moving forward? So ultimately, I wanted to get a degree in adult education because I actually really enjoy it. However, that's a master's degree and I have to have a bachelor's first. So I think I said business admin, it's healthcare admin. So staying in the healthcare field, learning the businessy leadership aspect, and then being able to tailor it to education, because surprise, surprise, there's no lower level adult education available for techs who want to become educators. Surprise, you're just kind of handed the stuff to do and said, make it work. So
The same path as you.
yeah, exactly. So it was one of those, what did I experience? What do I care about? And what am I willing to do for it?
So I'm going to keep this short before Deannard yells at me because Jhmeid is not here. Like what all these lovely ladies have said, it all depends on what you want to do. Go to the school for you, something that you're passionate about, but also remember it's an investment. So a versatile degree, you can never know. Rebecca and them were talking on business administration and healthcare administration. Business administration specifically is a versatile degree that if you get tired of healthcare, it can be utilized somewhere else. So that is that. In the industry, you can get a degree in basket weaving. And what most of the job description would just say will be a degree, especially for the leadership role. But now it's changing though. Most of them want, especially for the director level, an MBA or something in healthcare administration. So those can be your target to look like if you want to get into those high level positions. So that can also help. My experience, for example, this is CS is just a little part of what Igbo is about. I believe in continuous lifelong learning. I have my healthcare quality certification, CIC infection control. Just finished up a doctorate, and that is still not the end of it. There is patient safety that I'm also looking at, and fellow in American College of Healthcare Executive. That so it all depends on the individual. It's an investment in you. Broadens your mind, you know, a little bit about everything. And once you have all this knowledge in all this specific field, that will seem unrelated, but believe it or not, they are related, especially in CS field with healthcare quality and infection control. And if you throw some lean management systems in there, you're unstoppable, lady. So, yeah.
Once you figure out which direction you want to go, there are endless pathways. So medical device creation and manufacturing and the whole vendor world as a whole, but there's so much different education pathways you can go. You just have to figure out what direction you want to go. Science, chemistry, microbiology,
we have a lab person that works with us who does all of our testing behind the scenes. She's a chemist.
Yes, we have
She still
chemists
contributes to all of what we
on
do
our
as-
team, testing the products before they get sold. There's so much out there. So that's why I think getting involved with the AMI committees and just learning as much as you can and saying, you know what, that really interests me. And then diving in deeper and seeing which way you want to go.
What I did is I looked up all the cool people on LinkedIn that I was like, they're famous. And I saw what letters they have behind their name. And then I Googled it. because I didn't know what it
I
was.
don't have any behind my name.
Ye-
So, like, just trying to round up everything because I am currently doing a bachelor's degree in healthcare administration and policy, and I'm also going for the AIPC test. Woo, woo, woo. So, you got to find out what's passionate, what drives you. So we all have something that drives us in this field. We all have something that when we see it, like we go crazy. Like we're so excited when we see it. We're so excited to go and do that in our field. And when you find that in the direction that you want to be down, right? I love quality. That's why I want to do AIPC because. So, like for instance, the bachelor's degree that I'm doing, it's I chose it not just for SPD. I chose it because I have a rare disease, and that's going to not just help me advocate for those type of situations. It's also going to help me advocate for the field that I'm in, safe, equitable care for the entire department and hospitals. Hospitals are getting closures, people are getting laid off, but when I do healthcare and administration, I can learn about policies, how to lead teams, how to talk about it, and talk to our stakeholders. So even if you go down that route and get a degree, or you find out what's passionate and go for that certification, let's open up the discussion, talk about it. Talk about it. If you're passionate about it, insert it in the spaces that you might not think it belongs in, because your passion belongs in any space that you feel it can be justified in.
So far, I've heard about 2 AIPC. Does everybody know what the AIPC certification is? Okay. All right. So that is 3 people in here. Ladies and gentlemen, believe it or not, infection control is an up and coming part of CS landscape. Some of our infection control departments are already hiring sterile processing technicians with infection control background, like the AIPC or the CIC certification, because for far too long, this field has been ignored when it comes to infection control processes, and they realize that this will either sink or make them swim. So, and most of the infection control professionals usually require an MPH, and MPH doesn't cover most of what goes on in the CS world. So they are actually hiring subject matter experts within this rank to fill those positions. So research that. That is an up and coming field that there will be some positions opening up. So now get a head start, look into the process. I will highly recommend the AIPC certification for everybody that can take that. Join the APIC. They have discussion boards. When I look at the discussion boards, most of the questions concerning sterile processing is blank over there. I'm like, why isn't anybody answering? That's because there isn't that big knowledge base within those infection control and prevention community. But some of their leaders are really great advocates for CS. Partner with your infection control team at your hospital, especially when you have a big capital purchase coming up, because they can actually help you get those items that is needed.
Are CBSPD and HSPA offering that certification? No, it's
offered to a
It's
CBIC is the AIPC, which is associate, or it's the full one, which is another agency. But APIC is one agency, and then the other certification, CBIC or A associate, is the next level down.
correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't Joint Commission start offering a sterile processing? It's a accreditation. Okay, so it's not just an accreditation for sterile processing within the facility, but Okay, but more infection control. Joint Commission is looking more at central sterile than they ever have before. So your infection control is leaning into this to the SPD to see, I need help. I need my experts. So that connects it with that.
Right. Thank you guys. Great panel. I just want to give a shout out to our LinkedIn viewers, Ofui Amevo. We have Bill Rochelle, Adebula. We have Dante Jones. We have Arlene Bush. And that's about it I'm seeing so far. So thank you guys for tuning in. They actually commented. I don't know who else tuned in. We have other likes here by Brandon Gant from HSPA, my boy. So shout outs. So all right. So any last questions? Any final comments? Oh hey. Oh, she raised the hand first. She raised the hand first. Last one. Last one.
So much a question. It's what we did in our department 14 years ago. There was a bunch of us that got together, went to see the director and asked him about a training program to get people certified. Right, Ebo? And that the hospital would pay for that program for each individual to get certified, and would have in services for us to get our CEUs every month, to pay for our recertification every year. And it's been working great. Ebo was part of it many years ago. So
Thank you, Eva. Good work. Good work. All right, guys. Thank you. This was an awesome panel discussion. We had some good comments online. So I think this is the best panel discussion I've seen in a long, long time. So thank you. Give yourselves a round of applause.
So, because I know time's running short, so I just want to, you don't have to answer me. I just want y'all to think about this while we wrap things up. We're all gonna go home, and we're gonna come back to work on Monday or whenever we come back to work. Just think about this. What's one thing when you walk out that door that you could lead starting today or the next day that you come back to work? And I want you to think about, are you the change or are you becoming it? So what are you going to do to change, and how can you become the change that you want to see